evening, the stage is set for US President Donald Trump's two-day visit to India on the 24th and the 25th of February. The MEA in a press conference has said that 5 pacts are under discussion for the visit. We will tell you what to expect from the visit in terms of likely deliverables. In focus tonight is all eyes on President Trump's India visit. That and more in this edition of News Night. I'm Munmun Bhattacharya. First up, the headlines. US President Donald Trump's India visit to begin with a mega road show in Ahmedabad on the 24th of February. Talks on key issues with PM Modi the next day. 5 MOUs are under discussion. MEA says counter-terrorism cooperation between India and the US strengthened further after the Pulwama terror attack. India dismisses Chinese objection to Home Minister Amit Shah's visit to Arunachal Pradesh. MEA underlines Arunachal Pradesh is an integral and inseparable part of India. Home Minister assures people of Arunachal that Article 371 will never be scrapped, promises to rid the northeast from insurgency and interstate strife by 2024, asserts real emotional integration of the region with the rest of the country happened only under the Modi government. Incidents of terrorism on a decline in Jammu and Kashmir. Army chief says Pakistan may have to rethink its strategy on the terror activities and rhetoric, with even China realizing that it can't back its all-weather friend Pakistan all the time. Death toll due to novel coronavirus crosses 2,100 in China, even as a number of new confirmed cases decline. India to send its aircraft with medical supplies to China, which will evacuate some Indians on its return from China. Government clarifies there is no bar on travel to and from China. Ahead of International Mother Language Day, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu asserts that usage of Indian languages can make governance in the country more people-centric, emphasizes the importance of protecting and conserving our unique and rich linguistic heritage. And Indian women dominate with 3 gold at Asian Wrestling Championship. Divya Kakran leads the pack with a stunning performance before Sarita Moore and Pinky grab the gold in their respective categories. Nirmala Devi backs the silver. Our top focus tonight, this will be President Trump's first visit to India as the US President. It is also going to be the first standalone visit by US President to India. President Trump's visit will be brief but intense, with all essential elements of a state visit. And 2 additional legs in Ahmedabad and Agra, all squeezed into less than 36 hours. From the moment of their arrival at the airport a little before noon on the 24th of February, the delegates will be treated to a display of famed Indian hospitality and India's unity in diversity. Here's what to expect.
Fifth meeting in 8 months. Leader of the world's largest democracy hosting the leader of the world's oldest democracy. The host just rode back to power for the 2nd term with a massive mandate. The guest heads for his first standalone bilateral visit this year when he seeks re-election for a 2nd term. It was President Donald Trump's administration that saw India's relationship with the US evolve to one of the most consequential relationships of today. A strategic partnership based on shared values, geared towards 21st century, whether in countering terrorism or in ensuring a peaceful and prosperous Indo-Pacific. India and the US have unprecedented convergence of interests.
काउंटर टेररिज्म के मुद्दे पे भारत और यूएस की काफ़ी स्ट्रॉन्ग कोऑपरेशन है। पुलवामा अटैक हुआ था, उसके बाद जो अमेरिका से हमें सपोर्ट मिली थी वो अनप्रेसिडेंटेड थी और जो टेररिस्ट को जो पाकिस्तान में उसको डेजिग्नेट करने में भी हमें यूएस से काफ़ी मदद मिला था। हमारी उम्मीद है कि ये जो कोऑपरेशन है वो और स्ट्रेंथन होगा।
India has procured over $18 billion worth of defense items from the US, which has enhanced defense preparedness significantly, as have frequent bilateral exercises with each other. The United States is India's largest trading partner in goods and services combined, and the overall bilateral trade increased by over 10% per annum over the past 2 years to reach a figure of $142 billion in 2018. It is expected to cross $150 billion for the first time this year. US is India's 6th largest source of crude oil imports, with hydrocarbon imports rising to $7 billion in the last 2 years. The size of Indian diaspora in the United States is estimated at around 4 million, with 1 million of NRIs. There are more than 200,000 Indian students in the US and a robust engagement among academics, scientists, professionals and other stakeholders. From Howdy Modi to Namaste Trump, the two leaders' joint appearances only grow bigger and grander. From the over 50,000 strong crowd in Houston to the nearly 1 lakh registrations for the Namaste Trump at Motera Stadium, the people-to-people connect continues to flourish under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi and President Trump.
The road show in Ahmedabad, I think that matters a lot, because he's a social media savvy politician and populist, so he wants to be glorified in front of a giant global audience. Prime Minister Modi knows how important domestic politics is for Trump's in his calculus, and both the Howdy Modi and the Namaste Trump in Ahmedabad, both of these signify that. The Indian diaspora, they have voted more for democratic candidates in the past.
For history aficionados, President Eisenhower in 1959, President Nixon in 1969, President Jimmy Carter in 1978, followed by President Bill Clinton in 2000, George W. Bush in 2006, and President Obama in 2010 and 2015. The increase in high-level engagements in the 21st century are a clear indicator of the upward trajectory in Indo-US ties. With Taposh Bhattacharya in Ahmedabad, Amritpal Singh, DD News, New Delhi.
So that's about broad expectations from President Trump's India visit. And now a DD exclusive. Nisha Biswal, President US-India Business Council, is joining us from Washington now. Ms. Biswal, welcome to DD India. On the trade front, expectations of a mini trade deal have been tempered already, with Donald Trump saying that he wants to save a big trade deal for later. Having said that, what can both sides expect in terms of any deliverables on trade?
Well, I think the president's visit comes at a very important time. We've certainly seen that the U.S.-India strategic relationship has continued to grow and deepen in successive administrations, including under the leadership of President Trump and Prime Minister Modi. But where we see a need for greater focus and attention is really on the economic and trade relationship. Now, it's important to remember that the U.S.-India trade relationship has seen tremendous progress from where it started, in the beginning of the relationship, where the trade was really non-existent. I mean, the U.S.-India Business Council is celebrating its 45th anniversary this year, and in those 45 years we've seen that economic and trade relationship really grow and deepen to where it is today, which is $160 billion in two-way trade and investment. Nonetheless, there are things that both governments could and should do to try to deepen that trade and investment in both directions. And I think for the president's visit, I hope that there is a conversation between him and the prime minister on ways in which we can see more convergence in our trade policies and how we can facilitate greater trade and investment in each other's economies.
What are the concessions that the US side is willing to give India as these negotiations take place?
Well, for the United States and for U.S. industry, I think that they would like to see India continue that path towards liberalizing more and more sectors on FDI, including we would hope to see in the near future FDI liberalization in the insurance sector. There have been a number of issues over the past 12 months where the U.S. and India have tried to achieve some resolution, including on medical devices and trying to find a way around the price control policy so that American companies can continue to bring innovative products into the Indian market. We certainly want to see also that U.S. investment is treated on par with domestic investment so that there's a level playing field in sectors like e-commerce. I know India has just introduced its PDP bill on privacy and data protection. I think that there's a big interest in wanting to harmonize our approaches between the U.S. and India on data protection and privacy. So these are all areas that I think could go a long ways towards building investor confidence and supporting greater investment into India.
So those are really the points of convergences that you know, both sides can really work on going forward. But what are the concessions that India is willing to make in these trade negotiations, and do we see United States enthusiastic about India's approach on that?
On the U.S. side, I think India would like to see that the United States support the needs of Indian companies that are investing in the United States, particularly also around issues of H-1B and high-skilled immigrant visas. India, I think, has sought to find exemptions on the steel and aluminum tariffs. And India also, of course, would like to see a restoration of GSP preferences from the United States. So there are things that both sides can do to support and facilitate a more robust trade relationship.
Fair enough. Thank you, Ms. Biswal, for having joined us with your exclusive inputs on the India-US trade relationship. Now let's understand this visit in a deeper manner by looking at various sectors and also what this visit is bringing to us at the very outset. India says Namaste Trump. Namaste Trump is the big headline, and US President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump will be visiting India from the 24th and the 25th of February. That is quite official now, and the elements of the visit are also well known. The visit will have three legs: Ahmedabad, Agra as well as New Delhi. In fact, President Trump's visit will be a brief and intense, but with all essential elements of a state visit, and two additional legs, like we said, in Ahmedabad and Agra, all squeezed into less than 36 hours. President Trump and PM Modi will be jointly addressing the Namaste Trump event. President Trump will address the Namaste Trump event jointly with Prime Minister Modi at the newly built Motera Cricket Stadium in Ahmedabad. It will be similar to the landmark Howdy Modi event that was hosted by the Indian American community in Houston last September. Besides that, India's show to showcase India's diversity and culture via 28 stages that will show different parts of India. Glimpses from Bapu's life will also be on display on President Trump's route. Exhibition of India's rich and diverse culture and heritage from the airport to the stadium. The route of their travel to the stadium is expected to have tens of thousands of ordinary citizens of India as well as artists showcasing the performing art from different states and union territories of India. President and the First Lady will spend time at the Taj Mahal as well. After the Namaste Trump event, Donald Trump and the First Lady will visit Agra, where they would spend about an hour at the Taj Mahal before sunset. President Trump will then depart for Delhi. President Trump will be accorded a ceremonial reception at the Rashtrapati Bhavan on the 25th of February. 25th of February is the main day of engagement, remember. In the morning, President Trump and the First Lady will be accorded a ceremonial welcome at the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan. From there, President Trump and the First Lady will be going to Raj Ghat to pay respects at the Samadhi of Mahatma Gandhi. President Trump and PM Modi will be holding delegation-level talks at Hyderabad House. Leaders will be holding bilateral meeting on strategic ties and points of convergences as well. Discussions on areas of mutual interest at national and international level. Besides, PM Modi will be hosting a lunch for President Trump. They would also exchange views on regional and global issues of shared interest. Prime Minister would host a lunch for President Trump following the talks. Well, President Trump will be calling on President Kovind, who will be hosting banquet in his honor. That's towards the end of the 25th of February, which will be the last engagement, so to say, of President Trump in India. Besides that, President Trump will be participating in a private roundtable with industry representatives as well. Let's take a look at various sectors and the kind of cooperation that is there already insofar as various sectors are concerned, and the kind of expectations that are there from various sectors as far as this visit is concerned. Defense sector first. June 2016, US recognized India as a major defense partner, which is the kind of categorization that US gives only to very close allies. Focuses on co-development and co-production of defense equipment under DTTI, which is Defense Trade and Technology Initiative, under which there is focus on co-development of 7 projects. 3 foundation agreements have already been signed with only Beka left. In fact, this is something which is the kind of treatment that US reserves for its very close military allies. India-US defense ties. September 2018, 2+2 dialogue between defense and foreign ministers started. The last such dialogue took place in December last year. Now, reports suggest that the cabinet has given its approval to 24 MH-60 Romeo multi-mission helicopters for the Navy. This will help in surveillance operations and anti-submarine operations as well. 6 AH-64E Apache attack choppers for the Army. This would be part of an existing order which has already been placed. Besides that, let's take a look at the counter-terrorism cooperation now. March 2019, the last meeting of the Joint Working Group on Counter-Terrorism in Washington took place. Over the past several years, we are now seeing an intense cooperation and activity insofar as counter-terrorism cooperation is concerned. Designations dialogue initiated between India and the United States with focus on designating terrorist entities as well as terrorists, many of whom are based in Pakistan. India-US Civil Nuclear Cooperation 2008, the bilateral civil nuclear deal was signed, and that was, of course, a landmark deal. Westinghouse is in talks with NPCIL. This is the kind of information that we got from the Ministry of External Affairs today. 6 AP1000 reactors to be set up at Kowada in Andhra Pradesh, and that is something where we expect forward movement this time around. On Indo-Pacific cooperation, India and the US have agreed to work for free and open Indo-Pacific region. So that has been reiterated several times by both the Indian as well as the United States side. India, US, Australia and Japan have given shape to a quad that was long pending and has finally taken shape. Besides that, in 2018, Prime Minister termed Indo-Pacific as an inclusive concept, and that was stated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Shangri-La Dialogue. In 2020 Raisina Dialogue, US announced expansion of Indo-Pacific to cover the western coast of Africa as well. Well, we take a break at this point in time. After the break, we'll discuss expectations from President Trump's India visit. Stay tuned. And that brings us to our In Focus tonight, which is all eyes on President Trump's India visit. To discuss that, we have with us Shashank, who's former Foreign Secretary, and Alok Bansal, Strategic Affairs Analyst. I welcome you both to Newsnight. I'll begin with you, Shashank. The Foreign Secretary has called the India-US relationship as one of the most consequential for both sides. We've seen a lot of momentum built in this relationship, especially since the turn of the century, accentuated by the India-US civil nuclear agreement. And after that, we heard Barack Obama say in his address to the Indian Parliament that this is the defining partnership of the 21st century. What's the kind of difference that Trump's visit to India is going to make to this bilateral partnership?
Well, as you stated earlier, always the US presidents combined a visit to India with some other countries in the region. this is the first time that a US president is coming for a standalone visit. Here we have to keep in mind a couple of factors in South Asia and Asia. Number one, US and China have been having a trade dispute. Of course, they have signed a first phase of a trade agreement, but US would very much like China to be a friendly neighbor to the Asian countries, and for that India is a very important partner. Therefore, we have a joint vision which was developed earlier, but Trump will carry it further forward with with their having agreed to the Indo-Pacific to include the western part of the Indian Ocean as per India's wishes, and also to make sure that China is not excluded from the Indo-Pacific region, but it is brought into in a manner so that it does not muscle its way onto the India's immediate neighborhood or in South China Sea. It is a rule-bound kind of a system. The other one is that Pakistan has become a center for terrorist activities all over Asia and the world. So therefore, at this time when we found that Pakistan was trying to inject itself as a good partner or negotiator between the Americans and the Taliban for a safe exit for the American troops from Afghanistan, President Trump has decided to come to India for a standalone visit. That must be a big setback for the terrorists who are ensconced in Pakistan, and also for the Pakistan leadership to decide whether they want to become like a normal country or not. They have already been getting signals earlier from Saudi Arabia, UAE, etc., and now this time one finds that even Chinese kind of abandoned them during discussions in the FATF councils in Paris, and therefore this what America has started, that Pakistan was making a fool of the Americans by taking billions of dollars and making the American soldiers die at the hands of terrorists based in Pakistan. I think that is something, and India would perhaps try this time to make sure that not only the terrorist organizations but individual terrorists are named and action is taken against them.
Yes.
Because Pakistan has the habit of saying that, well, so and so has disappeared, we do not know. And this is what they had done
you're referring to Maulana Masood Azhar.
Well, Masood Azhar of course is one, but then Osama bin Laden, it was, they said, well, we do not know where he is.
Yes.
Ultimately he was found in the next to the army cantonment in Abbottabad.
Yes.
So therefore all these things are important to be kept in mind when President Trump is coming to India. And secondly, of course, for the domestic scenario in America, President Trump would very much like the Indian community living there, people of Indian origin, to move closer to the Republicans from their traditional support to the Democratic parties. Whether it happens or not, that is his lookout, but at least he is thinking that Indians would be good partners, and his visit to India should help him in some ways.
Absolutely. Alok Bansal, this visit is definitely going to be very high on optics, from the India road show, which will be a mega road show from the Ahmedabad airport to the Motera Stadium, the world's largest cricket stadium that both the leaders will be inaugurating, and then there would be the Namaste Trump event, which will be similar to what we'd seen in Houston, where the Howdy Modi event took place, but perhaps bigger in scale. What's the kind of difference that such optics really make to a bilateral relationship? Do they act as a good catalyst?
See, we need to understand optics is important because both the countries would want that the domestic audience should also realize the significance of this particular visit, and I think this sort of optics generate tremendous goodwill, and the ordinary masses get involved into issues which generally have till now remained within the realms of the elites, and that's one of the reasons why Prime Minister Modi is actually welcoming him first in Ahmedabad and then bringing him to Agra and Delhi, because this concept of taking him to a city other than the capital and engaging with him is, I think, first made by Prime Minister Modi, and we did it with Xi Jinping's visit, and it's now become a norm. Now somebody goes to Varanasi, somebody goes to Ahmedabad, and this has been happening. So this is a very, very significant thing. The second thing you need to understand is that President Trump is coming on this particular visit in the middle of an election season. This year is the elections, and I think there is a huge personal agenda that he has.
In the run-up to Super Tuesday on the 3rd of March.
Super Tuesday, of course, is important. I don't think so he has any concerns as far as his nomination is concerned, but more importantly, as far as his elections is concerned, which is going to be later this year, he would want that the Indian diaspora, which has a great influence within the United States It's not only 4 billion strong, but it has huge influence because they are the richest diaspora as far as US is concerned, and has traditionally been voting Democratic.
Yes.
So he would like to sway these voters. In fact, this was the reason why he went for Howdy Modi, and now you can see this. So there is also this particular thing, and if you see his tweets and assertions that he's going to the biggest stadium in Ahmedabad and all those things. So he is quite euphoric as far as this visit is concerned. At the same time, he is not yielded as far as trade deal, etc. is concerned. So it is to a very great extent an election year visit. So he
That's
wants,
how you would like to put it.
he wants the goodwill out of it. He wants whatever he can gain out of it. And I think the Indo-US military deals that will come through
Yes.
are huge deals, and that will probably keep Lockheed Martin going, which has been facing certain tough weather.
Yes.
So, and that will retain a lot of jobs. So all those things I think contribute. So it is not only a visit which India is looking forward to, it is as much a visit which US is looking forward to also, because
Absolutely.
they have lot of expectations from India. And of course, as I have always said, that India and US have congruence of interests. We share common values, the values of democracy and pluralism that actually bind us together.
Fair enough. So there are several convergences. Let's look at one sector after the other now. Let's pick up trade, because a lot is being said on this issue, and we've heard President Trump downplaying expectations on it. He's saying that he's saving a bigger trade deal for later. But Shashank, we know that there are several sticky points that exist, be it access to India's agriculture sector, dairy sector. Then there is this whole issue over Harley-Davidson tariffs, which India is working upon, but perhaps the United States has now changed goalposts on that, saying that this issue is not as important as one would have thought, considering the statements that Mr. Trump had made earlier. Besides that, there is GSP restoration demand that India has put forth. In this scenario, can we expect some progress, some incremental progress, maybe towards a bigger deal later?
You know, President Trump came to the presidency by saying that America should contribute less and other countries should contribute more to any partnership with the United States. So this has been his demand with NATO countries on defense issues. It has been his demand with the NAFTA partners, Canada and Mexico. This is what he has been asking for Japan, South Korea and China. Now somehow or the other he has treated India on par with all these countries. So he has been able to make a deal with Canada and Mexico bilaterally by pressurizing them, and they have agreed for various reasons, because apart from being developed countries, more or less they are close to America and they would like to continue the NAFTA partnership. They gain a lot.
But India has doggedly
India
protected its
cannot,
interests.
because India has $2,000 per capita income, and that is also mainly because of the various billionaires that India has. It is not that the ordinary people have suddenly become very rich. And President Trump does not understand that. His people understand it even less. At least President Trump says that Modi is a good man, he is a good leader of India. But the point is that his people are pushing India too much on the same pattern that they are pushing China and other countries. So India has to take into account, number one, that globalization was not very readily accepted by India, but they felt that yes, it's a rule bound regime, and if they can benefit, they can also get some advantages for their professionals movement, for their generic medicines, etc., then they should go ahead with it. Now President Trump is changing the rules of the game. He wants to do every deal bilaterally based on the relative pressures which either country can exert. So he can generally exert more pressure, and he is trying to do that. What he does not understand, that the Indian leadership has to take account of the poor people, their aspirations in India. And if any government in India would like to overlook all these interests, they are going to suffer seriously at the time of elections, whether state elections or any other elections. Therefore, India has to be careful, America has to be careful, because they are saying that their economy is doing extremely well under President Trump. So they would not like to change it by giving any concessions to a country like India.
Fair enough. Now let's shift focus to counterterrorism. Alok Bansal, do you expect this issue to figure prominently, considering that the MEA said that especially since the Pulwama terror attack, we've seen a lot of support coming from the United States to those terrorist entities, as well as terrorists who are based in Pakistan, that India wanted designated?
See, US has been by and large supportive of India's stance on terror issues, and in fact they have tried to pressurize Pakistan as far as many of these terrorist entities are concerned. But we must also be very cognizant of the fact that this election year, one of the main objectives of President Trump is to pull out from Afghanistan all his troops. And in that context, he has been negotiating with Taliban, and this flip-flop has been going on for some time.
Would you do you think that India would like a clarification from the United States on this upcoming deal?
I'm sure we would have some sort of negotiations, and in fact I feel that some sort of negotiations are already going on, because today only MEA has actually congratulated President Ashraf Ghani
Yes.
on his electoral victory. This belated assertion or belated congratulation shows that we have accepted, we have had some conversations with the Americans as far as recognition of the Afghan government is concerned, because as you know, Abdullah had contested the results, and there was a lot of contestation which was going on. Because what happens in Afghanistan directly impacts us, because not only Taliban getting a pie of the administration in Afghanistan is dangerous for us. The very fact that negotiators which Taliban are sending for negotiations are all those who are either in the custody of ISI or are known to be close to ISI has created certain apprehension. So this is one area where we would seek some sort of
And
clarification.
recently
As to
Afghanistan has lashed out on Pakistan, saying that they are trying to arm Afghans in refugee camps there in Pakistan.
See, there is no doubt that Pakistan has a vested interest. Pakistani establishment for last so many years have been insisting that Taliban has to be in government for lasting peace. Now this, I don't think so any lasting peace will come with any negotiations, but Pakistan wants Taliban to have an ascendance so that they have a government in Kabul which is actually favorably inclined towards them, and this is going to be dangerous for us, and I think we have made it very categorically clear to them that what should be the roadmap. I think we would be wanting, because India's stance on Afghanistan has been very clear, that any peace process should be Afghan owned and Afghan controlled. Which does not seem to be happening. So that is one issue, but by and large US has been supportive of us. It's pressurized Pakistan on FATF and most of the multilateral arrangements that we have had. They have put pressure, but as of now IMF seems to be cozying up to Pakistan. So that again we have to wait and watch. As far as counter-terrorism is concerned, by and large we are in agreement, but I think we would need certain clarity on Afghanistan as to what the US has in, what are the US plans after it pulls out its troops, because for all you know, once troops are pulled out, Afghanistan could become unstable.
Absolutely. India is concerned that Taliban could regain strategic depth in Afghanistan post the withdrawal of the US troops, and this will be the first time that that will be happening since the 2001 invasion, so to say. But Shashank, on the issue of the civil nuclear deal, the 2008 deal was landmark, but since then we've seen that it's been bogged down due to a number of issues, civil liability being one of those issues. Do we expect some significant forward movement this time around?
Yeah, we need to move ahead. On one hand, while United States had got us an exception as a one-time exception from the nuclear suppliers group, now they need to move forward and take an active role in India joining nuclear supplier group as a full member, and that cannot be done unless US takes a very active role in that. The second is the liability clause. That itself has not been very much clarified, and therefore the foreign companies have been somewhat hesitant, and those who have come, like the Russians, they are also waiting as to how things will develop with America and France in the liability clause, so that then the private companies and the companies which have already come, somehow they can be made less liable for the whatever damage might occur. I mean, of course, they all know that the modern nuclear reactors are very safe compared to the previous ones, but at the same time there are certain insurance liabilities which have to be taken into account while setting up these plants.
All right, well, that's all the time that we have for this. Thank you, Mr. Shashank and Alok Bansal, for having joined us. What we know for sure is that 5 MOUs are likely to be signed, including areas like homeland security, which would have an impact insofar as security cooperation between India and the United States is concerned, trade facilitation that will have an impact on trade ties, and of course IPR that will help improve trade collaboration as well as business-to-business collaboration between India and the United States. Well, let's move on now. India has congratulated Dr. Ashraf Ghani on his re-election as the President of Afghanistan. In a statement, the Ministry of External Affairs said that we congratulate President Dr. Ashraf Ghani on his re-election following the announcement of final results of the presidential elections by the Independent Election Commission of Afghanistan. The MEA also said that India supports the democratic aspirations of the people of Afghanistan and remains committed to continue to work with the new government and the democratic polity in strengthening a bilateral strategic partnership in fighting the scourge of externally sponsored terrorism and for an enduring and inclusive national peace and reconciliation which is Afghan-led, Afghan-owned and Afghan-controlled. The MEA also said that we hope that the new government and all political leaders in Afghanistan would work to strengthen national unity, promote inclusivity and protect the rights and interests of all sections of society. The office bearers and members of the Ram Mandir Trust, including its president Nritya Gopal Das, called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi. The meeting came a day after the Shri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra, set up recently to oversee the construction of Ram Temple in Ayodhya, met for the first time on Wednesday. VHP leader Champat Rai, who was elected as the Trust's General Secretary on Wednesday, was present at the meeting. Prime Minister's former Principal Secretary Nripendra Mishra was elected as the head of the Temple Construction Committee of the Trust. The 15-member Trust was constituted by the Narendra Modi government after the Supreme Court's landmark verdict on the 9th of November. On the 34th Foundation Day of Arunachal Pradesh, Union Home Minister Amit Shah dismissed as misinformation the talk of repeal of Article 371 of the Constitution, reaffirming the government's commitment to protecting the unique culture of the Northeast. He promised to rid the Northeast from insurgency and interstate strife by 2024, while asserting that the real emotional integration of the region with the rest of the country happened only under the Modi government.
Union Minister Amit Shah on Thursday announced a plethora of gifts for the people of Arunachal Pradesh on the 34th Statehood Day in Itanagar. Amit Shah launched a number of projects related to industry and roads and laid the foundation stone for various projects in the state. He also launched the Arunachal Pradesh Industrial and Investment Policy 2020. The Home Minister said that after abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir, a misinformation campaign was launched regarding Article 371. Shah asserted that this will never happen. He said India is not complete without the vibrant culture of Northeast. He reaffirmed that government is committed to protect the unique cultural heritage of the Northeast.
एक प्रकार की गलतफहमी फैलाई गई कि धारा 370 के साथ 371 को भी हटा देंगे। मैं आज अरुणाचल के स्थापना दिन और मिजोरम के स्थापना दिन के दिन समग्र नॉर्थ ईस्ट को कहना चाहता हूं कि धारा 371 को कोई हटा नहीं सकता, ना हटाने का किसी की मंशा है।
Amit Shah said that Northeast government got connected with rest of the country in true sense after PM Modi came in power in 2014. PM Modi is the only Prime Minister who has visited the Northeastern region 30 times. He added this is the Prime Minister's desire to see Northeast get rid of the entire problems. Referring to insurgency and interstate boundary disputes in the region, the Home Minister said the Modi government is committed to their resolutions.
बांग्लादेश लैंड बाउंड्री एग्रीमेंट, मणिपुर के ब्लॉकेड को हमेशा के लिए समाप्त करना, ब्रू रियांग जनजाति के 1 लाख से ज्यादा लोगों को स्थायी समाधान ढूंढकर गौरवपूर्वक जीवन जीने के लिए उनको एक नया रास्ता दिखाना, बोडो समझौते के माध्यम से 1500 करोड़ से ज्यादा खर्च कर बोडो जनजाति की सभी समस्याओं का समाधान कर उनको मुख्य प्रवाह में लाना और 8 से ज्यादा उग्रवादी गुटों ने 644 से ज्यादा कैडर के साथ आत्मसमर्पण कर नॉर्थ ईस्ट की शांति के रास्ता प्रशस्त करने का काम केवल 5 साल के समय के अंदर किया है।
On this occasion, Chief Minister Pema Khandu thanked the centre for keeping the state out of the amended citizenship law. PM Modi greeted the people of Arunachal Pradesh on their statehood day and tweeted, "Best wishes to the people of Arunachal Pradesh on their statehood day. This state is synonymous with patriotism and unwavering commitment to national progress. Praying for Arunachal Pradesh continuous growth." Arunachal Pradesh became a full-fledged state in 1987. Till 1972, it was known as the Northeast Frontier Agency, NEFA. It gained the Union Territory status in 1972 and was renamed as Arunachal Pradesh. With Sanjay Pratap, Itanagar. News Night Desk, DD India.
The Ministry of External Affairs today hit back at China over its objection to Home Minister Amit Shah's visit to Arunachal Pradesh. Briefing media persons, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson said that India's consistent position has been that the state is its integral and inalienable part. The state is its integral part. He said that objecting to a visit to Arunachal by an Indian leader does not stand to reason.
Arunachal Pradesh is an integral and inalienable part of India. Indian leaders routinely travel to the state of Arunachal Pradesh as they do to any other states of India. Objecting to the visit of Indian leaders to a state of India does not stand to reason and understanding of the Indian people.
Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Naravane said that terror incidents have seen a downturn and the army is maintaining pressure on terror groups in Jammu and Kashmir. In a reference to the ongoing Financial Action Task Force plenary, he said that there is an external dimension to the decrease in cross-border terrorism. He added that Pakistan may have to rethink strategy as even China realized that they cannot back their all-weather friend all the time. Besides, he also said that the force has been championing gender equality and the Supreme Court order granting permanent commission to women officers will give it a lot of clarity moving forward.
आर्मी में सेना में किसी भी प्रकार का भेदभाव नहीं होता, या तो वो जाति पर हो या लैंगिक हो, और सेना और फौज हमेशा इस बारे में आगे रही है। और इसी संदर्भ में मैं कहना चाहूँगा कि सबसे पहले आर्मी ही है जिन्होंने जवानों के रैंक में महिलाओं को भर्ती किया है सीएमपी में, और हम इसी तरह आगे भी जेंडर इक्वालिटी के ऊपर जोर देते रहेंगे।
Death toll due to novel coronavirus has crossed 2,100 in China, even as the number of new confirmed cases declined. India is sending its aircraft with medical supplies to China, which will also evacuate some Indians on its return from China. Meanwhile, MEA clarified that there is no bar on travel to and from China.
The death toll in China continues to rise and has reached more than 2,100. Over 74,000 are reportedly infected with the virus, although there is a reduction in the number of cases. The National Health Commission said on Thursday that the number of newly discharged cases of the novel coronavirus pneumonia has remained larger than that of the newly confirmed cases for 2 consecutive days in China.
In each of the provincial level regions other than Hubei, the number of new confirmed cases was less than 10 or reached 0, and the number of new deaths has also been kept at a low level.
Meanwhile, in Iran, 2 people have died due to the virus, which is the first such case in the Middle East. In South Korea, 1 person has lost his life due to the virus. Earlier, South Korea confirmed 82 people were infected. So far, 8 people have lost their lives outside China due to the virus. Meanwhile, the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control has said that the virus has been brought under control in Europe. In Europe, 45 cases have been reported. In Japan, 2 people have died aboard the cruise due to the virus. Australia has airlifted 170 people from the cruise. Back home, the External Affairs Ministry said that the government is in touch with the Japan authorities regarding reports of 8 Indians aboard the ship who are reportedly infected with the virus.
132 crew members and 6 passengers who are Indian nationals and who were on board the cruise ship Diamond Princess. This was quarantined off the coast of Japan, as per the latest information available with us, there are 8 Indian nationals who are infected with the virus. They are being treated, 8, and they are being treated at the local hospital. We understand their situation is improving.
India is sending an aircraft to evacuate those still remaining in Wuhan in China and to send medical supplies there. Earlier, the government had sent an aircraft and evacuated 640 Indians there. India has clarified there is no ban on travelling to and from China.
The government of India has decided to send an aircraft, a consignment of medical supplies on a relief flight to Wuhan. And this is just a small way, a token way to express our support to China, as it continues its fight against COVID-19 epidemic. On its return flight, as we have indicated earlier, the aircraft will bring in Indian nationals who could not board the first 2 flights. As I clarified last time, that there is no ban on travel to China or from China.
China has praised India for the assistance in tackling and containing the virus. Indian government is closely monitoring the situation and taking all the necessary measures. With inputs from Sudhir Yadav, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Some endangered species in CMS COP13 appendix was accepted by all 130 countries present at the Convention of Migratory Species at Gandhinagar without opposition. The proposals will now be adopted at the plenary convention.
In a major breakthrough, India's proposals to include the endangered mainland Asian elephant, the critically endangered Great Indian Bustard and the Bengal florican in CMS COP13 appendix was accepted by all 130 countries present at the Convention of Migratory Species at Gandhinagar without opposition. The proposals have been recommended for adoption at the plenary convention, but in the absence of any opposition, this is now a formality.
3 important species which are already listed in the Wildlife Protection Act has received the approval from the CMS countries for listing in Appendix 1 and 2. The 3 species are namely the Indian elephant, what we call as Asiatic elephant. The second one is the Great Indian Bustard, and the third one is the Bengal florican. So now we understand that with the listing of these species, we will be getting all support from the CMS as an overarching body, and also from the parties who are member of CMS, so that these animals, because they visit these some other countries, will also now be in a position to conserve the way that the same was being done in our country.
60% of mainland Asian elephants are found in India, and the species has been enlisted as endangered in the International Union for Conservation of Nature since 1986, a victim of habitat loss and increasing human-elephant conflict. The Great Indian Bustard, whose population has dwindled to around 150 individuals in India, is persecuted by hunting in Pakistan. And the Bengal florican has a population of less than 1,000 birds, struggling to survive amidst habitat loss in India and Nepal.
These 3 species are really treasures of Indian biodiversity. India has an amazing richness of biodiversity. It's a unique country, in fact, and that's why, people have been flocking from all over the world here in Gandhinagar for COP13, which is being the largest ever had within CMS, thanks to the amazing effort of the Indian government.
Some of the other key proposals which have been recommended for adoption to the plenary of the convention to be held on February 22nd are the inclusion of the jaguar in Appendix 1 and 2 and the inclusion of oceanic white tip shark in Appendix 1 of the convention.
India's effort to preserve the 3 species, the Great Indian Bustard, the Asiatic elephant and the Bengal florican, have bore fruit. Now these species have been included in the Appendix 1 and Appendix 2 of the CMS COP13. What that means is that they will not just enjoy government protection in India, but also internationally they will be protected. And that will go a long way from saving them from extinction. With cameraman Rakesh, this is Tapush Bhattacharya, DD News, Gandhinagar.
The Matrabhasha Divas will be celebrated tomorrow, but celebrations have already begun with Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu addressing the nation on the issue. Terming India as a linguistic treasure house, the Vice President said that mother tongue should be made the mandatory medium of instruction at the primary and high school levels. Here's a report.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said that regional languages should be promoted and brought to the national level. Highlighting the importance of rich linguistic heritage, Vice President said that Indian languages can bring administration closer to people. In a program organized by the Ministry of HRD and Ministry of Culture to celebrate Mother Language Day in New Delhi on Thursday, the Vice President also said that members of Parliament should be allowed to speak in their mother tongue.
I am very happy that Parliament of India now allows its members to express themselves in any of the 22 scheduled languages. आजकल आपने भी देखते होंगे हमारा सदन में भारत का जो 22 भाषाएं किसी भाषा में भी सदस्य बोल सकते हैं. We must explore the possibility of permitting our parliamentarians to speak in their mother tongue in the House fully. We must tap the power of technology to make this to happen.
Emphasizing the importance of preserving the country's rich linguistic heritage, the Vice President said that knowledge of Indian languages should be made compulsory qualification for employment. He also said that children should be provided education in their mother tongue in schools. The function was addressed by Human Resource Development Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank and Culture Minister Prahlad Singh Patel. Nishank said that the need of the hour is to preserve 196 languages that are getting obsolete. While Culture Minister Prahlad Singh Patel said that children should be given elementary education in mother tongue.
1652 से भी अधिक भाषाएं बोलियां हमारे देश के अंदर है। पूरी दुनिया में यदि सर्वाधिक विविधता है तो हिंदुस्तान की धरती पर ये हमारी खूबसूरती है। हमको इस विविधता को जिंदा रखना है। इसमें जो हमको मिला है उसको संरक्षित, संयोजित और उसको आगे बढ़ाने की जरूरत है।
International Mother Language Day is celebrated by UNESCO on 21st February every year with an aim to make people aware of linguistic and cultural diversity and multilingualism. Theme for this year's Mother Language Day is Language Without Borders. Nishant Saurabh, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
The fourth anniversary of the launch of Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission will be observed on Friday on the 21st of February 2016. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had launched the mission with a vision to deliver catalytic interventions to rural areas on the threshold of growth. Here's a report on the progress made by it.
The Narendra Modi government at the centre has launched a scheme called Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission aimed at developing rural areas by provisioning of economic, social and physical infrastructure facilities. Under this scheme, villages are being developed as clusters so that city-like facilities are provided and employment opportunities are also made available. Government has decided that a cluster should be formed for the villages situated around the plains and coastal areas where 20,000 to 50,000 people live. A cluster is an administrative unit that will come under a block or a tehsil. In each cluster, warehouses, agricultural service centers and storage centers will also be constructed. Mobile health units will be deployed in the cluster. The level of teaching in the schools will be improved. Along with smart class, a library will also be opened. Moreover, the schools are also being upgraded. Pipelines are being laid to solve the water problem in the villages and water connections are being provided to every household.
पहले चरण में 300 क्लस्टर ऐसे देश भर में बनाए जाएं, ये लक्ष्य तय किया गया और मुझे प्रसन्नता है कि 300 में से 298 क्लस्टरों का चयन हो गया है। 298 क्लस्टरों में से 288 क्लस्टर जिनको योजनाओं की दृष्टि से अनुमोदित किया है और 240 क्लस्टर ऐसे हैं जिनमें राशि का प्रभाव भी है और उनके डीपीआर भी अनुमोदित हो गए।
In the Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission, the state nodal agency as well as Zilla Panchayat, Gram Panchayat and Panchayati Raj institutions will also have a key role. Cooperation is also being sought from the Panchayati Raj institutions to form a cluster by connecting villages and work is being done on their advice. Kumar Alok, DD India.
And now news from regions and regional roundup.
The Supreme Court has dismissed a curative petition pleading for enhancing Ansal brothers' punishment in connection with the Upahar cinema fire case in which 59 people were killed 23 years back. A road crash that happened in Tamil Nadu has left 20 dead and 28 injured as the lorry collided with their bus, reducing it to a mangled heap. The Supreme Court appointed interlocutors met Shaheen Bagh protesters in their second visit to the site where people have been on a sit-in since the last 2 months against the amended Citizenship Act. A Delhi court sought response for Tihar jail authorities on a plea by one of the 4 death row convicts in the Nirbhaya gang rape and murder case, seeking better treatment for his claimed mental illness, schizophrenia and head and arm injuries.
And now a roundup of international news stories.
At least 9 people were killed in shootings targeting shisha bars in Germany that sparked a huge manhunt overnight before the suspected gunman was found dead in his home. The attacks occurred at 2 bars in Hanau, where armed police quickly fanned out and police helicopters roamed the sky looking for those responsible for the bloodshed. Russia has objected to the United Nations Security Council adopting a statement that would call for a ceasefire and respect for international humanitarian law in northwestern Syria. A UN envoy to Syria said earlier the country was on the brink of worsening. 4 meters underground illegal cigarette factory uncovered in a bunker in Spain. The Spanish Civil Guard dismantled an organized crime group involved in illegal cigarette manufacturing and drug trafficking. Sri Srinivasan, a prominent Indian-American judge, has created history by becoming the first person of South Asian descent to lead a powerful federal circuit court, considered next only to the US Supreme Court. Srinivasan took over as Chief Judge of the influential appeals court in Washington, D.C.
Bhuvan Goswami, Senior Program Executive of Doordarshan News, passed away on Thursday morning. Goswami had been ill for the last 2 days and suffered a heart attack this morning, after which he was taken to hospital where he breathed his last. He was 58 years old. Recently, he had celebrated his birthday on the 10th of February. Bhuvan Goswami was associated with Doordarshan for the last 25 years. And apart from producing Bulletins and Newsnight that you are watching, his contribution to many other important programs, including live telecast, was noteworthy and can never be forgotten by Doordarshan fraternity. He was originally a resident of Uttarakhand. DD News pays tribute to Bhuvan Goswami. Well, he will always be missed by the Doordarshan family. Tripura is one of the scenic states in India. With its green valleys and hills, Tripura is a traveller's paradise. The cultural land of Tripura has some beautiful tourist attractions to explore. Let us take a look at this virtual tour of Ujjainta Palace.
The gleaming white Ujjainta Palace, located in the capital city of Agartala, recalls the saga of Tripura Maharajas. The royal name of Ujjainta Palace was given by Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore. It is a unique experience to witness the glorious history and royal splendor within the walls of Ujjainta Palace. The palace was built by Maharaja Radhekishore Manikya. This stunning palace is built using the Indo-Saracenic style of architecture on the banks of a small river with lush green Mughal gardens surrounding it. Built in 1901, this two-storied palace has 3 domes, each 86 feet high. The interior of the palace is beautifully done with a tiled flooring, carved wooden ceiling and doors. There are many temples set around the palace. Today, this palatial structure is Northeast India's largest museum and portrays the culture and heritage of the region. Sudipto Kar's report, DD News, Tripura.
In sports news, Divya Kakaran led the pack with a stunning performance before Sarita Moore and Pinky grabbed gold in their respective categories as India dominated the opening day of women's competition at the Asian Wrestling Championship in New Delhi. Before this, India had won only 1 gold at the Senior Asian Championships women's event through Navjot Kaur in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan in 2018. And that's why these women are making India proud. On India's winning glory, we'll call it a day on Newsnight tonight. Thanks for watching.